All right, let's get started. Thank you, Jeff, for helping me run the slides today. We're going to be using Jeff's internet. So if his internet is bad, then complain to him, not to me this time. All right, I appreciate that we have around 20 people here tonight. That's good. That's a solid number. This is going to be a good one. I think that a lot of people will like this, and it'll be a good kind of fodder for us to look at and to make sure that we grow as officials. And then I'll give you something to do like we did for the general one the last Thursday that we did it. So yes, this is for back judges specifically. But it's always good if you work in different positions to kind of learn what we're going to be expecting out of our back judges this year. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's click to the next slide. Like always, this comes from the Football Game Officials Manual. I just got mine in the mail yesterday, the 2022 and 2023 one, and it's the same exact thing. The only thing they added to this one is they've added 7-man mechanics for high school, which are extremely similar to what we've been talking about in our 7-man program. Just in case anybody doesn't know, my name is Zach Monsilovich. I was a back judge for 4 years. And then I worked 1 year as a side judge for the 7-man program. And then I've worked as a referee for the last 2 years. I also do line of scrimmage officiating for college. So I pretty much worked everywhere that you could possibly imagine. So I'm hoping that you guys get a lot out of this. Feel free to ask me any questions that you may have during this, and let's get going.
Football.
Go ahead to the next slide there, Jeff. All right, so what we're going to work on today is we're going to work on the importance of hustling, the back judge's initial positioning, things back judges should be doing on every play, and then finally, we're going to do a little bit of video review through multiple different plays that we have done. All right, and so, Jeff, if you see anybody that's like off mute, go ahead and put them on mute, except for me, just so we can get rid of the static in the background. All right, go ahead and move on. All right, so the biggest thing about a back judge is you absolutely have to hustle. The back judge is one of those things where you're going to run approximately 3 to 4 miles per game. If you ever wore an Apple Watch or a Fitbit while you've worked there, you've noticed that the back judges are constantly moving, constantly rolling. So you do have to be in shape to be a back judge. This is not a position where you can think that you can go out there and just kind of walk your way around the field or not be in shape. So the biggest thing is if you're thinking about being a back judge, you absolutely need to make sure that you start your running program now. And what I mean by in shape is I don't necessarily mean physically in shape, but you have to be able to withstand at least 3 to 4 miles of running and a constant motion and constant moving every single play. So you'll notice that good back judges in our association are constantly running in, they're constantly running out, they're constantly going to the sideline, and they should be in a full-blown sweat. So it's very important that if the back judge is a position that you want to do, that you really start getting your running programs in and that you're ready for week 1. The other thing too is that a lot of you guys who work back judges also do youth league on Saturday. And the biggest thing that I've found that helps me a lot is Pedialyte. And so what I'll do is I'll drink a whole bottle of Pedialyte Thursday afternoon, Thursday throughout the day. I'll drink one Friday throughout the day, and I'll drink one Friday night before my games. And then that makes me able to go Saturday and still be able to have energy left. So make sure you're hydrating properly, especially because it's extremely hot out there for a back judge. Okay, go ahead, move on. Okay. All right. So the biggest thing, and this kind of goes in with the hustle thing, is on out of bounds plays. So anytime you have a play that ends out of bounds that is at most 10 yards down the field, the back judge needs to go over there and be a presence. Whether that be going in there and getting the ball and help facilitating it into the umpire, whether that be going in there and getting an opposing team out of the home team's bench, you need to make sure that you're active. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the huddle film cuts off after the play, So we don't really see on film the back judges getting in there and being a presence. But there are instances where you can see the back judge running over there and coming in there to help out. So it's very important to be a good back judge that you're very active. And this is where you talk with your referee. So what I do in my crew is, as a referee, I tell my back judge, I'll take anything that's 5 yards and in. So if it's 5 yards down the field or 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage and the play ends up out of bounds, as a referee, I'm going to go run over to the sideline and I'm going to be the one who kind of gets the ball and helps facilitate and gets the players out. However, I like to tell my back judge, hey, if we're 6 to wherever down the field and we get a play out of bounds, I need you to kind of be in that fray and to help facilitate the ball coming into the umpire and to help make sure that we don't get any silly business over there. So it's very important as a back judge that when we get these out of bounds plays, that you're coming over there to the sideline and you're being a presence. The earlier you can do that, the more effective your game's going to be. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Jeff. All right. So with that being said, there's also some really, really, really important rules that as a back judge, you absolutely have to know. The first rule is 943G. And that basically says that no defender or no player may make a contact with an opponent, including a defensive player, which is deemed unnecessary or excessive and which incites roughness. So Steve, I see you here popping up on my screen. Can you give me an example of a play that you think you would throw a flag on with this rule? It could be any type of play that you want.
Wow. Defensive player, which deemed unnecessary, excessive, and which is such a. Oh, okay. I'm trying to think of a play. Okay.
Okay.
You have a pass. Yeah, you kind of caught me off guard there. You have a pass downfield. It goes through the receiver's hands, is clearly incomplete. The defender continues to come in and just, excessively unloads and takes the guy out. That would be, to me, unnecessary and incite roughness.
Okay. So let's take a look here at this rule and let's kind of think of examples. Now, we all agree that this rule is pretty vague.
Mm-hmm.
It says to make any contact with an opponent, including a defensive player, which is deemed unnecessary or excessive. So when we're looking at a certain play like this, we have to kind of draw a line between what is considered unnecessary and what is considered excessive. And it's a little difficult to kind of understand what that means. But there's a good video that was produced by the Hawaii Rules Interpreter. And this is kind of what's gone around throughout the Federation as what is deemed to be unnecessary or an excessive motion. And that is anytime you see a defensive player that receives a hit from a defender that's not a football action. So when I say that, does anybody know what type of hit I'm talking about? Does anybody know what type of tackle I'm talking about? And anybody could chime in. You can use the chat box or you can take yourself off mute. What type of tackle are we talking about? Or what type of action are we talking about that you think would fit this unnecessary or excessive motion?
Zach, anything above the shoulders.
Yeah.
In terms of what?
Forearm, shoulder, helmet, anything above the defensive player's shoulder pads, or I should say his shoulder level.
Okay, well, that's actually targeting. If there's contact made to a defensive player above the head or neck, above the neck region with the forearm, with the helmet, with whatever, that's actually targeting. This is something completely different. So what we have here, and what I'd like you all to understand is that unnecessary and excessive basically means where they're not making a football move to make a tackle. So what is an exact way to make a tackle? Okay. So what do you look for as a back judge when you've got a defensive player? What do you look for from the defender when he's trying to make a tackle? And there's a key phrase that we need to start getting into our vernacular, into our vocabulary. So who can tell me what we're looking for?
He's gonna
For
make
me,
it.
what
Is he
I'm
rapping?
looking. Hello.
Oh man, what'd you say?
I said for me, what I'm looking for is this actual tackler looking at his target, where he has his eyes up, he's going in, he's wrapping up, and he's just following through with his tackle.
Okay, so you
You
did
know.
say the magical word, and that is a wrap up. Okay, so basically what we're looking for is on a defensive player, if you have a defender going to make a tackle on a defensive player, we must see them make some sort of attempt to wrap up. Okay, and if they make that attempt to wrap up, it could still be a hard hit, but they need to see the attempt to wrap up. So hits that they want us to flag are situations where you have a defender lead with the shoulder. How many of you all have seen that shoulder hit where a guy's coming across the middle and then our defender, he just leads with that shoulder, and even though he hits him in the chest, that's still considered unnecessary and excessive because he's not making a football move. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so before we move on to the next thing, what are some examples? And you guys can either take yourselves off mute or you can let me know in the chat box. Well, we understand what unnecessary and excessive is, but now we have to understand what are scenarios in which a player is defenseless. So who could give me examples of when a player is defenseless?
Hey, Zach, what about a receiver running across the middle and just gets laid out by a linebacker?
In terms of how was he hit though?
He was just like he was running a crossing route. Ball was not even thrown. He's looking back at the quarterback, and the linebacker just like nails him in the shoulder, like leans into him. I guess kind of like not wrapping up as a tackle, but like just kind of like lays him out and kind of lay him out, kind of hit.
Sounds like a blindside to me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Before you
Another example of a defensive player be a quarterback once he laterals the ball and he's totally out of the play, or it could be a quarterback after he's passed the ball, he's out of the play, or it could be an example of we don't have uncatchable pass in high school, but a pass that is uncatchable, even though that's a tricky term to use in high school. The pass is underthrown, overthrown, and he just up there in the air, comes down, puts his hands down by the side, he gets laid out by the defender. That's a defensive player.
Good. So Nick, you've listed two of them.
I have
Airborne.
for you,
If a
Zach.
player is
Ernie,
airborne.
Ernie, Keith, and then Tyrone. We'll go Ernie, Keith, Tyrone. So Ernie, go ahead.
If a player is airborne and unnecessary roughness is making a hit on him, if the ball is not thrown to him, if he's airborne.
Okay, so that's kind of similar to what Nick said. Yeah, if a player is out of the play and he's just been absolutely destroyed by somebody, that would be a scenario where you would have a defensive player. Good. Keith.
I have one for you, Zach. How about a pass is thrown to the opposite side of the field? You're watching your key on your side, and he's clearly out of the play, and the cornerback grabs him and throws him to the ground in a takedown. That would be considered a serious offense. He's out of the play. He's not throwing a block. The pass is thrown to the opposite side of the field, and the defensive back grabs his jersey and just pulls him with excessive force to the ground as a takedown move. That would draw a flag.
I would be okay with the flag, but what are you calling there? Are you calling a personal foul or are you going to call a holding?
I would on that probably get him for a personal foul because that's not at the point of attack.
Okay, and how would you word that?
I would come in and tell you as my white hat, I have a personal foul takedown on cornerback number 24. Grabbed him by the jersey and threw him to the ground. He was a defenseless player, out of the play. The ball was thrown to the other side of the field.
Good, I could live with that. And then if your coach asks you, you would tell him that, hey, the contact was what? What's the key phrase that we want to use?
Unnecessary.
There you go. Good. Unnecessary. Good. Tyrone, what you got?
All right. I'm not going to answer the question per se, I want to add a little bit to what you're saying
Go for it.
and add a little bit from what I talked about at Tuesday's meeting. In the meeting that we had with the FHSAA, I want you guys to remember these two terms, malicious and non-football related. What Keith just said, by him not being nowhere in the play, that was non-football related. Also malicious. It had nothing to do with the play. Not related to the play. So that was one of the things that the FHSA is trying to stress for this season. Clean that up immediately. And so I wanted to say that to you guys. And also a follow-up. I sent the email to the FHSA in regards to that. And I heard someone say something about a blindside block. And the question that I posed to them was, on those blindside blocks, especially the ones that are 30, 40 yards away from the play, can we deem that also as a malicious, non-football act that warrants an ejection? So I'm waiting on a response back. Hopefully I have that response soon, and we can talk about this a little bit more at the next general meeting. That's all I want to add.
Thank you, Tyrone. All right. So go to the next slide for me, Jeff. Okay. So if you go to your rule books and if you go to rule 232,
You see the slides.
Article 16, they give you all the examples of a defenseless player. So these are examples in which the player is defenseless. A is a passer. Okay, and that's what Dr. Nick said. B, a receiver attempting to catch a pass who has not had time to clearly become a runner. So those are your bang bang scenarios. So you can't just have, as Roy said, a headhunter come in and just completely wipe somebody out. If that guy's making a catch and he's turning and all of a sudden he gets forcefully hit, then you're going to have a flag. Now remember though, if the guy makes a wrap-up attempt, that's different from something that's excessive. So you're still allowed to hit people. And if you don't hit people in the helmet, you're still okay as long as you're making a football move. So I want to make sure everybody's clear. There's a difference between a wrap-up attempt tackle and somebody leading with the shoulder in the attempt to be excessive. Okay? So if we go and you see somebody wrapping up, that's your key phrase there. If he's trying to wrap up and the helmet's to the side and he doesn't make any contact with the head or neck region, even if it's a hard hit, we're not throwing a flag for it. But if we have that guy coming across the middle and then the safety just comes in and he just throws a shoulder at him, then that's going to reach that qualification of unnecessary and excessive. So we have to make sure that we understand the difference, okay? Because these are things that you're going to have to tell the coach. I'll give you an example. So my school, Boca High, they played their spring game, okay? And they had a play very similar to this. And I had told the coach that, hey, it has to be a form tackle and he has to be looking like he's making a play and he can't make any contact to the head or neck region. Well, sure enough, they had a play. Guy came across the middle. Their safety did a beautiful job of taking his head, putting it to the side, making a textbook form tackle. They still threw a flag on him. And then they told him, oh, well, the reason why we threw a flag is because he hit him too hard. No, that can't be our reasoning. That absolutely cannot be our reasoning. If we have a coach that says that to somebody, or if we have an official that says that to a coach and the coach gets word to us back, we're going to have a serious conversation about that. Because you are still allowed to make contact. You're still allowed to forcefully hit. It just has to be in a nature of a football move. So let's make sure we all understand that. Okay? All right. So C, the intended receiver of a pass in the action during and immediately following an interception or potential interception. What that means is, let's say you get a safety Or you get a cornerback, he's playing man-to-man coverage. The ball goes up in the air, he intercepts the ball, but then the safety comes over and just completely clocks him out. On that situation,
Hey, I got a Zoom meeting, man. You want me to bring your bag out here?
on that situation, we are going to have, okay, on that situation, we're going to have a personal foul for hitting a defenseless player. We all understand that. Okay, good. So these are rules, and these are the verbiage that back judges, you have to know. If you don't know this verbiage, we are not going to be able to sell our calls to the coaches. Okay? And then there's one other essential rule that I want back judges to know this year. Go ahead, click through it. Okay, now other essential rule is 923D. A defensive player shall not contact an eligible receiver who's no longer a potential blocker. Okay, so here's where I'm going to open it up again. How do we know when a receiver is no longer a potential blocker? What is our guideline for this? So anybody that wants to wants to take themselves off mute, let me know. You can go ahead.
He attempts to disengage from blocking.
What do you mean by that, though?
Well, when he's no longer a receiver, he'll either go into the block if the ball hasn't been thrown once it leaves the passer's hand, or he will disengage and go a different way from him to where it's obvious he's not going to be a blocker.
Okay, I think you got a couple of the key words there. Keith, I saw you took yourself off mute. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, let's say that you have a play and that is your key. You're looking at your key receiver. He's doing a little trot down the field. You see it's obvious the pass is going to the other side of the field. He's no longer a potential blocker because the ball has left the zone.
Okay. Here's what the Reddings book has said in the past regarding this specific rule. And Dr. Nick kind of hinted on it. Okay. When a receiver is running a route and he is looking at the defender, let's say they're 5 yards down the field, the receiver is running a route and he's looking at the defender. Do you think he is a potential blocker? Let me know in the chat box or take yourself off mute.
Yes.
All right, Wayne, you say yes. Why do you think he's still a potential blocker if he's running a route, he's 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards down the field, and then there's a defender in front of you? Why are you going to say that, yes, he's still a potential blocker?
Because he's clearly not looking back to try to receive the pass from the quarterback. So the pass is obviously not coming towards him. So he's going to block because it's probably a run play.
Okay.
Or something that's going to be quick, that's out of their hands quickly.
You're not wrong. So Rob, you are correct too. Okay, so let's say we have this scenario. We have a receiver that's running a fly route. Okay, he's 10 yards, 15 yards down the field, and the defender is in front of him. That is not, or we cannot say that he's not going to become a potential blocker because there's still the opportunity for the quarterback to do what? What can the quarterback do in this scenario?
Throw the ball to him.
Scramble and throw.
The quarterback can still run, right?
Run.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if the quarterback runs, the quarterback crosses over the line of scrimmage, okay? That guy right there, we can't say he wasn't a potential blocker. Are we following? Okay, now, same scenario. We're running a post route. We're 10 yards down the field. We start our post route. The receiver gets and turns, so his back is now facing the defender. The defender then bumps him either in the side or the back. Do we think that the receiver was still a potential blocker in this scenario?
I would say no.
Okay.
No,
Oh,
especially if he hits
oh
him
you
in
say
the
no, right? Odman, you said no, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why? How is that different from the first play? Because you are right. Why is it different?
Because the receiver's attention is towards the line of scrimmage. So ball may come his way.
Okay. Here's the other reason. The reason why, and this is what the Reddings book teaches us, is that when a receiver is either at the same yard line or has his back turned to the defender, there's no way in the world he's going to block him right there, right?
No, yeah.
So now he's no longer a potential blocker. So therefore, that means the defender can't do what? What can't the defender do now?
He can't hit him because if he hits him in the back, that's an illegal block in the back.
Correct. Well, it's not an illegal block in the back, but he can't touch him. He can't contact him in this scenario. Okay. And just what Bob said, Bob Powell, what he said in the chat box is right. When the receiver gets to the same yard line as the defender, they can no longer be quote unquote bumped. Okay. It's because when they're at the same yard line, it's not obvious that they're going to be a potential blocker. And now they are actually running their route. So now that we kind of understand what distinguishes between a potential blocker and a receiver, let's talk about what that penalty is. So I gave you the rule reference. Can anybody tell me what the actual penalty is and how many yards it would actually be? Oh, man. How about just tell me how many yards the penalty would be?
15, Zach.
15?
Yeah, for an
any
illegal
other guesses?
excessive contact.
Legal block in the back would be 10.
10 yards.
10 yards.
Okay. So we have 10, we have 15, we have 10, we have 15. Ken Weisberg, what do you have?
Well, according to the rule book, that's illegal use of the hands, so it's a 10-yard penalty.
Perfect. So there's what your
Exactly, 10
penalty is
yards.
called.
10 yards.
So if you have a scenario where somebody is illegally bumped as a receiver, it's going to be a 10-yard penalty, and you're going to tell the coach it's illegal use of hands. And you need to know this rule, 923D, like second nature. So you can tell the coach, hey, listen, the reason why is because he was no longer a potential blocker and your defensive player made contact on him. Okay, so these are the three most important rules that as back judges, we absolutely need to have a grasp on. Okay, does everybody understand that? And let me know in either the chat box or let me know verbally. Does that make sense with what we're talking about right now?
Yeah.
It does.
But
Yes.
Zach, so
Go ahead, O.
a call like that can be a game changer, depending on the situation.
It absolutely can, which is why we need to make sure we know the rule.
Correct. So in a situation like that, if it's a minor bump, should we still make calls like that? where
Absolutely
it's
not.
Okay.
Remember,
so we're looking for felonies then.
Right. It needs to be
all right.
something that legitimately takes the receiver off of his stride. So
Gotcha.
things that we would most likely see are that 10-yard and in route where you get those linebackers who are overzealous. And then they remember, because the linebackers are told when you see somebody coming across the middle to do what?
Lay them out.
To bump them, to tap them. But what we need to really key in on is when we got that guy running the 5-yard route. And if he's running that 5-yard crossing route, if the linebacker then pushes him in the back, would that fall into this 923D? Yeah. But however, to answer your question, we're not calling like a subtle bump that doesn't throw him off his stride. It has to throw the receiver off his stride, and it has to be significant in order for us to call it. Brett, I don't know if you could talk, but say what you just said in the chat box if you can. If you can't, just write in the chat box.
I was just saying this happens a lot with a corner, an overzealous corner on a receiver. which is hard in 5-man because it's very difficult to have someone watching all the receivers all at once. But there's a lot of contact in high school football on those receivers on the outside, a lot of grabbing, a lot of chucking. And really, as soon as the receiver makes it clear that his intent is to run a route, we shouldn't be allowing any contact on that player.
And just remember that. I think that's the biggest thing. Remember, if the quarterback is still in front of him, we're going to say it's okay for him to jam. However, it's the time where that they're even with each other or the receiver's back is to him that we're not going to allow that. We all got that? All right. Next thing. Free kick.
Zach, can I ask you a quick question as sort of a follow-up to what Brett said?
Sure.
What if you have coaches, you and I have worked together over the years, coaches that, in effect, coach their secondary to continue to do this all game long with the hopes that the crew will not just continue to throw flags and at some point they'll just overlook it and allow these corners to play physically through the third and the fourth quarter with the thought that the crew is not going to throw 15 illegal use of hand penalties in the second half alone.
Keep throwing the flag.
You want to have a 7-hour game?
Get it early. If you don't get it early, it's going to continue. But if you get it early, even if you go up to like them before the game, you say, hey, coach, we've been watching film on you guys, and we've noticed that you guys are very handsy, and then bring the rule book with you. So a good example of this is the 7-man crew from last year. They had Treasure Coast, and Treasure Coast was dangerously close to having like an illegal shift every single play. But what they did is they brought the rule book to the Palm Beach Central coach, and they said, what Treasure Coast is doing is legal. Here's the rule. And they had no problems with that. So that's why we're trying to be proactive. And if you notice it on film, or if you notice it from years working them in the past, that they do this a lot, then bring them the rule book, show it to them before the game, and say, hey, this is something that we're going to be looking for. So make sure you guys clean it up. And in that way, we can have things be a lot smoother.
The other thing I'd add real quick is this is why we're doing these training sessions, is so that we can get consistency from crew to crew across the association. Because in the past, I think you're right, there would be, teams would be teaching this, they would be getting away with it for several weeks, and then we'd have one crew that would come out and would call it 5 or 6 times in a game. And they're not going to teach it anymore if we stop doing that. I mean, the reality is if we start throwing with these, they're not going to teach it anymore.
And also, this is something, Jason, is Gibbons one of the teams that you think does this?
I'm sorry, Zach, were you asking me the question?
Yeah, is Gibbons team that you think does this?
Well, it's been my experience as a wing that we've had many occasions where coaches will say, hey, look, I'm more than happy to give up a couple of flags early in the game in the hope that the crew will get tired of throwing them, and we're going to continue to crowd these receivers, especially guys that throw the ball 30, 40, 50 times a game, even at the high school level. That had been my experience.
Yeah, just like what Tyrone said, then get it early and tell the coach. So let's get it consistent and let's make sure we got it. All right, we got to move on.
Not to pick on any certain team, but American Heritage coach is going to tell you that all night. This is how they teach their kids. So, hey, coach, if you're going to teach them that way, it's going to be repercussions.
Exactly. All right, let's move on from this. We'll go back to this a little bit later. But Kason told me I had to be under an hour today, so we got to move faster. Okay, free kicks for back judge. Make sure that they are not on the 35. I'm going to show you an example real quick, and you're going to tell me what's wrong with it. After the ball is kicked, come into the middle of the field, observe the action that's happening in the middle of the field. And then remember, if the free kick continues to go, you have goal line responsibility. So get on your horse and get to that goal line. Okay, Jeff, go ahead to the next slide. What's wrong here?
They all behind it.
They're all behind the 35.
All right. So this is an absolute what?
Right. Got it.
Illegal formation.
Yeah.
But this is an absolute what? This should be what?
This should be prevented before they even kick off.
Thank you.
Right.
So
That's where the back judge goes before he gives the ball. Guys, go stay off the 35. Stay off the 35. Got to be talking to them. Preventive officiating.
I will say this right now. This is a game that happened last year. It happened on every single kickoff. Is that acceptable?
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
This is something that is completely unacceptable. That are things in which, remember how Jeff was talking about accountability at the meeting? These are things that the back judge needs to make sure that he takes control over. So as a back judge for kickoffs, what I would do is I would always tell my kicker, hey, make sure that those guys back there are not touching the 35-yard line. And I would stand there and wait for him to turn around and tell every single one of the guys. If he didn't tell him, I would stand there and say, aren't you going to tell him? Aren't you going to tell him? Aren't you going to tell him? So this is something that if we see on film is a gigantic no-no. And why is this a gigantic no-no?
Because they're getting an advantage.
And this is a significant what?
It's a foul. It's an illegal position and an illegal formation.
But at the same time, this is a safety issue. The reason why they want them that yard ahead is because they want to reduce the amount of yards it is for them to get a running start. So we cannot let them be like, look at this. They're touching the line, but they're legitimately 2 yards back. So they're getting 3 more yards than a normal kickoff team would do. And that is something we absolutely cannot allow. So as the back judge, it's your responsibility to take control over this. Do we all got that?
Zach, can I interject something real quick?
Go for it.
What I do in my games, if I see the guys on the line, I personally talk to them and I tell them, guys, get off the line. You cannot be on the 35. If you want to call that coaching, well, I'm guilty, but that's what I do in my game.
I think it's perfectly fine. I'd rather us coach them out of these penalties because these are penalties that make the game 4 hours long. If we can get this fixed, it's usually a one-time fix. I have no problem with us coaching the guys to get them out of these penalties early on. And then that way we don't have to worry about it. All right, go ahead to the next one, Jeff. All right. So punts, scrimmage kicks. All right, as the back judge, we know that we need to be wide. Okay, and that we need to cheat what side of the field?
Head linesman side.
The head linesman side of the field, unless you have done what? Remember we talked about last week, unless you've done what? What?
If you've pre-gamed with your wings on how you're going to handle that.
Correct, because sometimes when you snap all the way on the right hash, okay, or if you snap all the way on the left hash, excuse me, it's so difficult for you to get into a good position that you might want to talk about with your line and your head linesman about who's going to go down and what scenarios that you would go down. But what I want to make sure that we are is the mechanics book says for us to be 12 yards wide and at least 2 to 3 yards behind the deepest receiver. Now, I think we should be at least 6 to 7 yards deep behind the deepest receiver. And the reason why I would rather us be deeper is because it's going to give us a better angle to see all the things that we need to see. So on punts, our positioning needs to be deep and wide, deep and wide. And the reason is because that's going to allow us to be able to see the catch, to see the blocks out in front, and then to be able to go with the return. Also, another thing we need to make sure to do is we need to make sure we're not in a big hurry to move. Okay? Too many times we see the catch, and what do we start doing? What's the very first thing we do when we see the catch?
Start moving with the receiver.
We start moving with the returner. Okay? However, if we position ourselves deep enough and wide enough, we don't need to move with the returner yet. We can stop, process the play, and then move. Okay, I think I have an example in the huddle videos today where when I was a back judge, I would always come up after the catch. And then we had a block right out in front of the returner, and I missed it because I gave up my angle because I wanted to move too much. So what I'm saying is see the catch, take a mental note of what yard line he's at, put the beanbag down after the play has progressed away through the return, so that way you're not throwing the beanbag in the middle of action, okay? And stay where you're at, so then your eyes can go from catch to blocks out in front. Because unfortunately, your line judge 90% of the time has trouble getting down the field to be able to help you with the blocks out in front. So wide, deep, see the catch, stay, watch the return, and then when the return breaks, then it's time to start coming up. We go with that?
Zach, we have a terminology we use in softball called pause, read, and react to the play.
That's beautiful. So yes, keep that terminology. Pause, read, and react. Okay? The wider you are, the better angle you're going to have. The deeper you are, the ability you're able to react to crazy scenarios like muffs or punts that bounce and go over your head. Okay? All right, move on. Okay. These are things that we absolutely must do as a back judge. Okay? The first thing is the most important thing is we always need to count the defense. Okay, you're always counting B. Every single play. Now, it's supposed to be the short wing there's supposed to be the short wing that's team is on defense that's supposed to count with you. However, and I'm sure Jonathan knows this too as being a short wing for many, many years, it's very difficult for a short wing to remember to count with you. So don't put that responsibility on the short wing. It should be your responsibility. You are primary for counting that defense on B, and it needs to show up every single play. The best way that I do this is every single time we have first down, what I do is I make sure I count 11. Once I have 11, the next thing just happens to be I just count how many people run off and then how many people run on. So what I'll do is I'll keep a mental note. Okay, 2 ran off, 2 ran on, I'm good. 3 ran off. Okay, that means that 3 should be coming on. Here's 1, 2, 3, we're good. And I hold out my extended arm to show the count. Okay, I'll hold that out for a good second. That way it's visible, it shows up on film, and I know that I'm good to go. As a back judge, we cannot miss, okay? We cannot miss 12 people on defense, okay? And if we count 12, what should we be asking ourselves is just we say, okay, I got 12. We're going to do another count. We still have 12. Flag goes in the air. Okay, I have a legal substitution on the defense. Do not try to not let that play go off. And I'll give you a good example. I was doing a Miramar St. Thomas game. It was packed. This was like 5 years ago. And I counted 12 on the defense. However, I spent too much time trying to fiddle around on my radio to signal in that we had 12 rather than just throwing the flag. The snap got off. I threw the flag at the snap. However, nobody saw it. Oh, St. Thomas was at like the 2-yard line, by the way. St. Thomas fumbled it. Miramar returned the ball for 98 yards and a touchdown. But what did I have to do?
Call it back.
I had to call it back. And even though I made the right call in the field, how mad do you think Miramar was? I see you laughing, Steve. So yes, Miramar was absolutely livid, and I got called every bad name in the book. So when you're counting 12, make sure that we are consistent with it, and that if we know there's 12 out there, that we don't wait, that we throw the flag up in the air and we get it and we enforce it, so no funny business like that can happen. All right,
Zach,
go ahead.
I got a question. Okay, let's say you got a player that's been substituted for and he's full sprint toward the sideline, trying to get off before the snap. He's 2 steps away when the snap goes off. I usually let that go. Am I wrong for doing that, or should I throw the flag?
Oh, yes. And so this is the big debate that they had in college and in the NFL over the last 2 or 3 years. And the reason why I say that you should probably throw it is because all the games we have are now what?
They're all videos. They're all taped.
They're all video.
Recorded.
They're all on tape.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's true.
if you have a guy at the snap that's 2 yards on the field, what can somebody easily do?
Throw the ball to him.
No. If you have that in your scenario, Steve, where you got somebody that has 2 yards of separation between him and the sideline at the snap, what can I do if I'm the MacArthur coach and I lost by a touchdown? I can just go to that
Yeah.
film and say, "Oh, well, the officials allowed this
Right.
play to happen when they had 12 men on the field. Here's your proof."
Right.
So,
Right.
what I would say is, as a back judge, if you have 12, you see the guy running off the field, and he does not get off the field before the snap, I think you have to call it. Even if it's 2 yards, even if it's 1 yard, just because in the age that we live in right now with the film, we don't ever want to make a situation where we're showing up on the local news and they're like, "Oh, they had 12 people on the field."
Right.
So,
Doesn't the wing judge go out in the field a little bit?
what do you mean by go out in the field a little bit?
Don't they cheat and the wings come out while he's running off?
Oh, no way. We want the
Not
wings
on the
to
varsity
stay-
level.
We want the wings to stay on the sidelines at all time. And remember, that's going to be a call. And I see Wayne, if you have your hand up, I'll come right to you after this. That's something that we have to call, because if we don't call that and we tell a coach, "Oh, we didn't call it because he was close to getting off the field," how do you think you would react to that as a coach?
Well, I think you got to look at it a different way too. If it's 2 yards, it's 2 yards. If he's close to getting off, you're the back judge. You're not seeing that sideline, so I don't think you want to call that. The difference between the NFL, college, and high school is replay. They can always they can challenge that. This is your judgment, and I think that if you're looking at that play from 30 yards away and he's running off the sideline, I don't think you're calling that if he's a step away.
If he's a step away,
Yeah.
2 yards is one thing. If you could see that, but if you can't see the step away, and the play is imminent, I think you let it go.
yeah. I mean, if it's a step away and you don't know for sure as the back judge, then I'm not calling it. But if it's obvious that he did not get off the field, then I'm calling it. So I think that's where we want to go with Steve. It has to be obvious that you could see it as the back judge in the middle of the field, because your short wings aren't going to help you out with that.
Right.
Yeah.
But
On a video replay, if a coach sends that in, you're not going to be challenged on that because you're 30 yards away. If he's clearly not off the field, and that's one thing. But if he's close and you can't see that clearly, then you're not calling that.
Right.
Yeah.
So unless you're 100% sure that he didn't get off the field, I'm not calling that. But your original example with the 2 yards, I'm calling that. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. And I guess I probably should have said something more like 1 or 2 steps, but yeah, 2 yards is quite a bit now that I think about it. But
I think
And
the
also-
rule of thumb would be, if you can't definitively know whether or not he's off the field,
Right.
then you don't throw it.
right, that really clarifies it more for me. And
Zach.
also we want to try to make sure that we kill it before the snap if possible. And hopefully it is possible, so we don't have a Miramar situation.
Yeah. What's up, Wayne?
Well, that's a different situation in itself, because he's allowed to get off the field till the ball snapped. You can't blow that whistle.
So my question is, Zach, so you see 12 men are running off the field, you throw the flag. Just reiterate for me, is that a free play for the offense and then they assess it after, or is it dead ball, like you blow the whistle?
All right. If he's running off the field, then you wouldn't blow it dead, like Bob said. If
If they're not
all-
running off the field.
if they're just chilling there and they have 12 and they have no clue that they have 12, then that's a dead ball flag.
Okay.
And you'll kill it right there.
Got
Does
it.
that make sense?
Yeah, that's all I want to know.
All right. The next thing that we need to do every single play is we absolutely must make sure that we're keeping an accurate play clock count. So if you're at a place that does not have a play clock, at 5 seconds left on the play clock, your hand needs to come up to the air with it signifying as 5. And then you're going to start the chop. So it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Finish that one chop. And once you finish that one chop, then go to your flag and blow the whistle and throw the flag high up in the air.
Hey,
Okay.
Zach, question.
What's up, Bo?
So we're not doing the 10 seconds where the hand comes out to the 10, then start chopping at the 5?
Let me check the mechanics book again, because I believe the mechanics book this year had 5 at the 5 seconds, but I'll do that real quick.
Okay. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I
right?
know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have it at 5. Let's talk about this. Let's get this going as an association. Do we want to do it at 10 or do we want to do it at 5?
Supposed to go up at 10, isn't it?
10.
Yeah, 10.
Well, the
That's the way
mechanics
we've
book
always
this
done it in
year-
the past.
Yeah, the mechanics book
10.
this year says 5. I have no problem doing 10, up there at 10 and then counting down at 5. We go with that?
I prefer 10 because you don't want to stop the play, you know?
All right, so let's go with 10 seconds. We're gonna keep our hand up in the air.
And don't forget too, Zach, a lot of the coaches are used to seeing that hand up in the air at 10 seconds
Exactly.
and they know
Right,
what
so
it
Quarterback.
is.
Yeah.
Let's stick with
Exactly.
10 seconds. We're coming up with the up in the air, and then 5 seconds. We're gonna count there. Okay. So at 10 seconds, have the hand go straight up in the air, and then 5 seconds. We'll start the chop down. Sound like a plan?
Yes, sir.
All right. So good question, O, and we'll keep that going. All right.
Already.
So in the mechanics book, there's also a signal for when you're going to start the 40-second play clock. I am not a proponent of that because I think it's stupid, because they should know that the 40-second clock's going to start when. When does the 40-second clock start?
It's a dead ball.
A dead ball.
At a dead ball scenario.
When
So-
the ball becomes dead.
when the ball becomes dead. So there's really no reason in the world to point to your wrist to signify that the play clock has started. So that mechanic is stupid. And if we all agree, we can all burn that mechanic and send it to the NFHS office. What do we think? If we want to burn it to the ground, just tell me burn it to the ground.
Burn it.
Burn, baby,
Burn
burn.
it.
There we
Burn
go.
it.
That's what I want to hear. Okay. So questions about the play clock. I'm gonna give you a scenario. You tell me 40 or 25. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Offensive player's helmet comes off.
25.
25.
Only 2 people know?
25.
25.
Okay. Offensive,
25.
offensive player injury.
25.
25.
25.
Delay of game penalty.
25.
25.
25.
Defensive injury.
40.
40.
40.
Defensive helmet.
40.
40.
40.
Damn. All right. So it looks like we all under. Oh, normal play, incomplete pass out of bounds.
40.
40.
40.
Tackle inbounds.
40.
40.
All right. So it looks like we're all good with that. So why is it important for us to stop the clock every time a helmet comes off, and specifically when it relates to the defense?
It's based on where you're at in the game. Also,
Right.
too.
So let's say we have 30 seconds left. It's 3rd and 6. The offensive players run a draw up the middle, and the defensive player's helmet comes off. Why is this significant?
Well, Zach, let's say in your scenario right there, they can try to have their helmet intentionally come off because you can have, by your scenario, you can stop the clock with 27 seconds left. And under the old rule where we'd reset to 25, the offense who we winning at the fourth quarter would have to snap the ball. In the
Correct.
case now where the rule changed a couple of years ago, you have to snap at the 40, they can still run the clock out like they were planning to do. Because teams
Correct.
were intentionally either having a player get injured or having a helmet come off to conserve time.
That's why it's essential. It's essential that we stop the clock when a helmet comes off. It's my biggest pet peeve in our association. Too many times we'll have a helmet come off and everybody will just stare at the player and they'll be like, oh, you got to go off. Because what's going to happen?
Can I make a comment about that?
Yes, you can, because I got to drink water anyways.
Okay. Zach has a lot of pet peeves, but this is important, okay? More times than not, people just they see the helmet come off, 35, you got to go, okay? And that's it. They don't stop the clock. Everybody has to stop the clock, okay? And I agree with Zach that in the past, we haven't done a very good job on that, but this year, with this training the way it is, I think everybody's going to be aware of it. And you can't just say, oh, 25, you got to go. You got to stop the clock.
I agree. You got to stop the clock whether it comes off legally or illegally. We can't say 25 or 35, you got to go, because it may have been taken off illegally. Nonetheless, you stop the clock, but you're not so sure in rushing him out because you may not seen the helmet come off illegally, but you see it off. So you got to have to consult with your crew.
Right. Okay. Next thing is, as a back judge, we are also responsible for clock status. So we are the ones that have to relay clock status to our referee. Go ahead and roll back. Yeah, stay where we were there. Okay, good. So I'm going to turn on my camera and you're going to see my beautiful face. Can you guys see me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, good.
Yes.
I don't have my hat on, so it's maybe not a great face, but it's still beautiful nonetheless. Okay.
Whatever you
Clock
say, sir.
status. There are two signals that we use for clock status. All right. We changed one of the signals because it's very difficult for the referee to see. So if you all have your cameras on, you could turn them on right now because we're going to do a little Simon Says. And that way everybody understands what we're looking for. As the back judge in 5-man, you are responsible for signifying clock status to your head referee. If we are going to go on the ready, you're going to put your hand or your index finger above your head and you're going to roll your finger. Does everybody see that? That's going to signify that we are on the ready. Are we all good with that? Okay, so if you have your camera on, let me see you signifying that we're on the ready. That's terrible, Bob. I need faster. That's better. That's better. Oh, OD's got a professional one right there. Okay, so that right there is on the ready. Now, we used to teach that when we were on the snap, we would go like this. What's the problem with that? Let me show you this. This and this. Bob, you're a referee from 40 yards away. This almost
I can't
looks
tell
like
the difference.
It looks
I can't
the same.
tell the difference. You can't tell the difference.
You can't tell the difference. So when we're talking about it being on the snap, we're going to come and we're going to extend our hand out and we're going to tap our fist just like this. Okay?
Above your head. Above your head.
It could be above your head. I don't know if you can see me if I do that. Yeah. Or it could even be to the side. It's up to you, but you have to talk about that with your white hat. So remember, ready? Snap. We all got it? Okay. All right.
But Zach, doesn't this issue become moot now that we have radios? Why won't you just communicate and say we're on the snap or we're on the ready?
You could. But a lot of people, I mean, especially if I'm a white hat and I'm enforcing the penalty, the last thing I want to do is I want to be enforcing my penalty, and then all of a sudden I have to hear over the radio when I'm saying my announcement what we're on. I'd rather just peek over real quick and then see what we're at. So that's why I teach everybody to use the signals. That make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. I think we can move on. Oh, hold on. Okay. So before we get into this, let's talk about some scenarios. Okay. We have a defensive penalty on a play that ended it inbounds with 6 minutes left in the third quarter. Are we snap or are we ready?
Well, we're going to a water break. We're going to a water break at that time.
We've
most
already
likely.
taken our water break. Already taken our water break.
We're on the ready. 'cause we
You're
ended
ready
up
for
inbounds.
play.
Okay, good. We're on the ready. We have an offensive penalty with 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and the play ended up inbounds. Ready or snap?
On the ready.
Okay. We have a defensive penalty with 1 minute and 35 seconds left in the second quarter. What are we doing?
Option.
On the ready.
That's the option.
Good. We have the option.
Have an option.
Oh, that's right. They can take
Option
it.
of snap or ready. Okay, good. Let's see. We have what was my other one I was gonna put? Oh, I forgot what the last one was. I'm losing my mind.
The last one, Zach, was a defensive penalty or offensive penalty under 135 remaining in the second quarter. So they had the option, the defense.
Okay, that's perfect. All right. That's it. So we have to understand. Oh, I'm sorry. We have a delay of game on the offense.
On
On the
the,
snap.
Let me
Yeah.
rephrase that. We have a delay game on the offense. The previous play was a play that ended inbounds.
Snap.
It's on the snap.
snap,
Good.
the delay of game is usually on the snap.
Good. Delay of game penalties in high school always go on the snap.
Snap,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice job. All right, I'm ready to move on now. Okay, I'm gonna fly through these real quick because this is just basically essential information you need to know. But keep the play boxed in. Line up 20 and 25 yards away, but be in a position where you can still get to the goal line. Relatively, the ideal is to be there before they get there. So if we're snapping from like the 20-yard line and they got 80 yards to go, and you got a team like Western or you got a team like the old U School that loves to air it out, you could be 30 yards back. I'm okay with that. Okay, because you want to make sure that you put yourself in the best position. All right, keep going. We're gonna fast forward through this. Oh, that loose jet. Okay. What key does the back judge have on this play?
He has the receiver to the line judge side.
Which one? Or one?
Inside receiver.
No, it's the outside
widest receiver.
wide receiver to the bottom. It'll be to the
Outside.
bottom of the screen. The outside receiver to the bottom of the screen.
Is that it?
And he also has actually in this formation, he'll have the slot too.
Yeah.
Good. Good. So you have a trips formation. The back judge is going to take both receivers on the line judge side of the field, and then the line judge is going to take that far guy all the way in. Because remember, as back judges, your keys are outside in. Okay. On this type of play right here, who is the back judge most likely going to key in on first?
Probably the inside guy.
The widest receiver.
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah, you're right.
widest guy to
Widest,
the field.
wide,
Remember, who's threatened? Who's threatened?
the widest guy.
Widest
So
guy.
that's the guy we want to key in on first. We always key in on receivers that are threatened. Go ahead to the next one. Who does the back judge have here? Well, let's
Widest.
first let's talk about it. Is this what type of formation is this?
You
Where's
got
your
a two-
strength?
You got an even strength. You got no
So it's
strength. You got
balanced,
the tight end to
right?
the right. Yep.
Balanced formation. So in balanced formation, the line judge cheats to. Oh,
You mean
sorry.
the back.
The back judge
Back
cheats
judge
to what
goes
side?
Line judge.
Line judge.
So
Line
he
judge
has.
The widest receiver. on
widest
the
guy
left.
to the side of the field.
Okay. Is that wide guy threatened?
No.
Who's the only receiver that's threatened in this situation?
The guy at the top of the screen.
Far side.
Not that guy. That guy. So this is a scenario where because your key is not really threatened, there's no real need to stick with him first. Instead, we can go to the Y side of the field where you have what? Or the far side of the field where you have what?
A receiver that's threatened.
Yeah.
A receiver that's in press coverage, so I'd probably start there. Does that make sense how your keys change in 5-man football?
Yeah.
because we want to take a look at threatened areas. We don't want to officiate space. Everybody got that? All right, go ahead. Keep going. All right, click on that thing right there, or that link. Now, while Jeff shows you this link, I want to make sure everybody understands that the first part of this does not relate to the high school game. It's just the plays that we're going to look at, okay? All right, go down, scroll down, and then hit play. There's sound too. If you can't get the sound, don't worry about it.
By a player more than 1 yard beyond the line of scrimmage that significantly hinders an eligible player's opportunity to catch the ball. Pass interference can only occur when a forward pass is thrown from behind the line of scrimmage, regardless of whether the pass is legal or illegal, or whether it crosses the line. Defensive pass interference rules apply from the time the ball is thrown until the ball is touched. The following actions will result in a foul for defensive pass interference.
Okay, this is the stuff we're going to look at.
Contact by a player who is not playing the ball that restricts the opponent's opportunity to...
All right, so yeah, when they do that like little flashlight thingy, we're going to pause there, yeah. All right, so the first type one is where the defender's not what? What was that defender not doing?
He's not looking for the ball.
Not playing the ball. Okay. He's all up in the man's grill. He's not looking back at the ball. He's clearly denying the receiver the opportunity to catch a pass. We all go with that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead.
To make the catch. Playing through the back of an opponent in an attempt to make a play on the ball.
Pause. Okay, so if you see them come over through the back of the guy, that's going to be a flag. Okay, so think about those safeties that try to come over the top. They go through the back of the opponent. That's not them trying to establish positioning. That's them going through somebody. We go with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Typical Cowboys.
Grabbing an opponent's arm in a way that restricts his opportunity to catch a pass.
Okay, so if you see that them grabbing their arm and it's a significant tug and it slows down the receiver or it doesn't allow the receiver to catch the pass, that's pass interference. And that's a really good example. And that's the angle you're going to get as the back judge. Okay.
Extending an arm across the body of an opponent, restricting his ability to catch.
Okay, that's an arm bar. Okay, the arm is extended out there and it affects him from getting to the ball. Keep going.
The pass. This is commonly referred to as an arm bar. Cutting off the path of an opponent by making contact with him without playing the ball.
See that little stop right there? Okay, so if they're running down the field and the defender just stops right in front of them.
And hooking and turning an opponent in an attempt to get the foot.
Okay, and then when you see them grab up top and you see them hook down, that's another example of DPI. We all good with that?
Before it arrives.
All right, go ahead and So when we're looking for DPI, we want to put them into those categories. Okay, so we're not just going to say he contacted him early. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to say what specific thing that he did. Oh, coach, he cut him off. He stopped right in front of him. He cut him off. Coach, he went right through the back. He played through the back. Coach, he hooked him. He turned him, and that's what caused him not to be able to get to the ball. Coach, he grabbed him. He restricted his ability to run. Coach, he grabbed his arm. Coach, he had his arm extended out there, not allowing the guy to move. That's an arm bar. So we want to put the pass interference into specific categories. If we do that, they could complain, but they're going to complain a little bit less. And trust me, if you've ever given a coach the category that it falls into, they'll kind of look at you and they'll say, oh, okay. So we need to get good at understanding what the categories are and how we should enforce them. Now, remember, if there's incidental contact, there's no DPI. If it's inadvertent tangling of the feet, there's no DPI. Okay? If we're looking over to the right and the pass is all the way to the left, we can't have pass interference all the way over to the right. Okay? If they put their hand on the receiver, that's not DPI. You have to physically restrict them in some sort of way. And finally, if they're gaining legal position in defender, then they're okay. So if they go around the defender and they make a play on it, that's okay. If they're already there and the offensive player tries to push them out of the way, that's not on the defense. We good with that? All right, let's show OPI. Same thing with the video there. Remember, don't listen to what the NFL guys say. And then I would say go to like the 30 seconds because the definition they have is different than ours.
Pass
So go to like 30
interference is
seconds.
any act more than 1 yard beyond.
Don't listen to that.
Following actions will result in a foul for offensive pass interference.
All right.
Shoving or pushing off an opponent to create separation.
Pause. Okay, so shoving or pushing off. That's where you can see the what? The arm do what? What's the thing that we can look for? The arm doing what? Wayne, you're doing it right now.
Extends.
Good. You're looking for the extension of the arm that creates what, though?
Separation.
Separation. There's your key. There's your key. If they extend the arm, but they don't create separation, do you have anything? It has to create separation. It has to create separation. Where are you most likely to see this? On what?
The end zone.
On jump balls in the end zone. So remember, it has to create separation. We're not just going to throw flags if we see an arm extended. We have to see that arm causing a legitimate separation between receiver and defender. If it doesn't cause a legitimate separation, we're not flagging it. Or if it's like a tiny, like they put their hands on their back, but we don't see an extended what?
Separation.
Extended arm or extended separation, we're not throwing it. Okay, so it has to be something that causes the defender and the offensive player to separate from each other. All right, go ahead.
Separation in an attempt to catch a pass. Blocking more than 1 yard downfield before the ball is touched.
Pause. Okay. So obviously this is the NFL rule. But in college, in high school, you see where he's catching the ball? Is he catching that ball behind or beyond the line of scrimmage?
Behind.
Yeah.
So is this play good or bad?
This play is good because he's behind the line of
Good.
scrimmage.
Behind the ball.
High
Behind
school.
the line
So
of
this
scrimmage.
is perfectly fine. This is perfectly fine. Okay? So remember, if a coach sits there and complains about a receiver blocking downfield and that ball's caught behind the line of scrimmage, the only thing you have to tell the coach is, hey, listen, the ball's caught behind the line of scrimmage. Sorry. We go with that?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the third one. The third one is the one that we see a lot.
Before the ball is touched. With the ball in the air, blocking a defender more than 1 yard beyond the.
Okay, what's he about ready to do?
Pick.
Pick him.
play. Yeah.
What's the easiest way to see those?
line in the vicinity of the pass.
Here,
This
pause
is
it down.
How they're
commonly
lined up,
referred
like
to
to
as
do
a
a
pick.
crossing pattern.
Pause, Jeff. Good. So the easiest way to see those pick plays is if they're in a 2x2 formation, and especially if it's third and short or fourth and short, because most likely what's going to happen? One of those guys is going to run a what?
Pick.
Crossing route.
A slant, and the other guy is
Or
going
an
to run the
underneath
out.
route. Yeah.
And the guy running the slant is most likely going to be the one who does what?
Pick.
Who picks them? Or the guy running the out is going to be most likely the one who picks them. So let's talk about picks. That one that we saw the example of, what did he do? What did the offensive player do? Did it look natural? Did it look
he
natural
also-
to you?
He didn't sell it either.
Right.
Zach, he should have pretended that he was looking back for the ball. He probably would have let it go.
Right. So when you're trying to judge whether or not it's a pick, okay, the easiest way to do it is to see, does it look like a natural motion, or is he just straight up running into somebody? If he's just straight up running into somebody, then most likely you're going to have a pick scenario. And I think that should be it.
Commonly referred to as a pick.
All right. Go ahead, escape that. So as the back judge, we're going to be the ones who usually call those DPIs. So it's very important that we understand the verbiage that goes behind it so we can tell the coaches exactly what we need. All right, and then go to that last slide for me there, Jeff. Okay, and then the last slide here is our overall goals for the year. Okay, number one is try not to be beat to the goal line. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, not all of us are going to be able to do that. There's going to be some plays where they're just faster than us, and that's okay. The second one is we're going to be alert for the blocks out in front. I'll get into number 3 at a later time about why I want us to stay between the goalposts, and we're going to hustle the plays out of bounds. Now, I've got 5 more plays I'm going to show you, and then we'll call it a night. So go ahead, Jeff, to the next slide, and click on that link.
Over the last 10 years, responsive web design has changed.
Oh, snap. Click on my name where it says Zach Lansovich, because that's the wrong one. And then go to back to training. Yeah. I apologize. The video got clipped a little bit because my internet sucks, but I'll have the full video for you on Huddle if you ask me. Okay. All right. So play 1 is just an example of what we want to see from our back judges on Huddle. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Play number 1 is not a play that we want to see from our back judges. Okay, so we have a trips formation, right? So let's just hit play, and then I'll tell you when to stop. Okay, stop. What type of play we got right here?
Looks like a bubble screen.
Screen, right?
Yeah.
So we know based on the general meeting, the back judge's eyes are going to go to what? Are they going to go to the receiver, or are they going out in front to the blockers?
Blocks out in front.
Blockers out in front.
Okay. So pause. As a back judge right now, who are you picking up? What number?
9.
9.
Okay. So let's watch number 9.
Blindside.
Holy Moses!
Yep.
Illegal blindside block.
No, that's more than that.
That's targeting.
That's targeting. That's an ejection.
Yeah, using the crown.
That's absolutely an ejection. Now, this is 3 years ago, so at this time we didn't have this blindside block rule. Oh, we still have the targeting rule. So pause. The back
judge
judge
the wrong way.
The back
was that
judge.
his mouthpiece, Zach, that came up?
That was his earpiece.
Oh,
earpiece?
Yeah, it flew out of the helmet. So, if I told you that the back judge missed this, what would you tell me?
How?
Okay, so let's talk about how. How did he miss this?
Wasn't looking in his primary area.
Where was he looking at? Where do you think his eyes went?
The deepest receiver, possibly?
No.
No, to the ball carrier.
His eyes went to the ball carrier.
The ball carrier.
Wow.
So then, while his eyes were on the ball carrier, what did he not pick up?
Number 9.
The blocker.
And
He's
so he
running
might
the
have
wrong
thought
way.
that he might have just
Running the
missed that
wrong
block
way.
because he wasn't looking in the right area.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is absolutely what Tyrone's talking about egregious. Okay. This is targeting to the fullest. Contact is made to the head or neck region, and this should be an ejection.
Wow.
All right.
The wing official.
He's celebrating too.
All that.
He's celebrating after the hit.
Yeah, you got taunting also.
The wing official could have seen that also. He's right.
But remember, that's not the wing official's responsibility. The wing official has to key in on the ball carrier, because that ball carrier could drop the ball. He could hit his knee on the ground. We're not doing anything at this time. The only thing we're doing is we're going to be looking at that play. All right, second play.
Was that you there back there, Zach?
This was 3 years ago, and yes, that was me.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I knew how exactly why I missed it, because my eyes went to the ball carrier and I did not go to where I should have.
So Zach, you're saying that the short wing is not supposed to look for that, or the primary?
It's not his primary.
Yeah,
because he has the ball carrier.
Of course, it's going to be his secondary though. He can ultimately help out.
Right. He can ultimately help out, but we're not putting that onus on him.
No. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying as a secondary, he can definitely, or she can definitely look out for that.
Actually, this play was 5 years ago. So you can see I've grown as an official. Okay, go ahead, play.
Progress. Good job, sir.
All right, what's the problem here? Go back. Oh, there we go. What's the problem with this play? And if you tell me there's no problem with this play, I'm going to get very angry with you.
To be on the goal line.
Who?
Back judge.
Where are we snapping from?
Danger zone look like.
Where are we snapping from? Pause it.
Danger zone.
30. We're not even in the danger zone. We're literally snapping from like the 28-yard line here.
28
Is there any excuse for a back judge to not be on the goal line here?
You should have lined up on the goal line.
So this right here is an example of bad officiating. We need to make sure on these deep plays that we are where?
On the goal
line.
On the goal line. Because look at this pass again and then pause it right where you think he has the ball. There. He sure as hell looks into me. And I know it's hard to see, but there sure as hell looks like there's a foot inbounds. But what's the problem here? We don't have any what?
Coverage on the
We
goal
don't have
line.
any coverage. We don't have anybody there to be able to see.
The mascot's in good shape, though, I thought.
The
Zach.
mascot
He's got
has
good-
the
he's got
best chance to
good
make a
position.
ruling on this play. And what does he rule? What does he rule?
Touchdown. This
He
guy's
rules
hands up.
touchdown. So you know what? I'm going with him. But for some reason, we ruled this incomplete. And can we possibly sell this to a coach?
No, we're out of position.
We're out of position.
Nope.
All right, go ahead.
So
Finally,
where's the
somebody
back
gets
judge? Where's the back judge?
There he
the
is.
back judge?
He came in there at the last second. All right.
I didn't see him. Wow.
Now, go to like the last second of that play, and you'll see him. Pause. There he is.
It looked like
Yeah.
he was in the middle of the end zone and coming in. Now we don't know where you started because the camera wasn't wide enough. But yeah,
Well, we
looks
snapped
like
from
he's in
the
the middle.
28. There's literally no reason for him not to
Yeah.
be on the goal line,
Oh yeah, agreed. I agree with you 100% on that.
and that's not me.
No, I know. Yeah, I think I know who that is. He's not with us no more.
I don't know. All right,
I
hit
think
play.
that's us.
So there was no conference, nothing like that. Oh,
Nothing.
wow.
All
Okay.
right. So this example right here is an example of really good officiating. Okay. And remember, we talk about back judges, they need to be athletes, right? They need to be able to move. Well, I want to show you this back judge and how well he moved on this play. Go ahead. Pause. Is that back judge not in really good positioning there?
Oh yeah.
Yes, he is.
So, when you're the back judge position, you need to make sure that you're looking, analyzing the play, and being able to keep up with these guys. So, if anybody remembers U School from like 3 or 4 years ago, they had that quarterback that's now at Middle Tennessee State, and that guy would chuck the ball all over the field. This is a good job of being in a deep enough position where he can keep himself behind the play and be able to see the pass. So this is a nice job by that back judge. Go ahead.
I wonder if that's that back judge that's now in Colorado.
It is.
I don't know why it's not going now.
Oh, yeah. Fast forward. This is where the video got stuck. Fast forward. There's one more, I think, on here.
Wow, that's
That's my internet. It went downloading, and then during the download process, it got messed up. All right. This is another example of really good back judging. This is another example of really good back judging. Where are we snapping from? Pause it. What zone is this?
Danger zone.
Okay.
Danger zone, yeah.
So is the back judge in a good spot here?
Yeah, he's right on the goal line.
Yep,
He's on
he's
the
in a
goal
good
line.
spot. Watch the play, and then we'll pause it as the play progresses. Oh, I'm sorry. Pause it real quick. Where's his key?
The two guys on the chain
He's
side.
got the
Good.
two outside
And we
receivers.
notice where is he though? He's right under what?
Goalpost.
Goalpost.
Okay, he's not taking himself out of the play. He's putting himself under the goalpost, and this is going to be a good thing. Go ahead. What are we reading? So the back judge and the short wing both end up on the goal line right there to make the call. That's good officiating. All right. And then you can escape now, Jeff. Okay. Go to that slide there real quick.
What slide?
The slide that we had. That's okay if you can't.
The deck.
All right. So that's pretty much it. I do apologize that this took an hour and 30 minutes. However, are there any questions or things that we want to talk about right now before we break?
I got one comment.
Go for it, Tyrone.
It's not about football. I told y'all I'm a newlywed. I can't hang out with y'all that long. So I can't stay no more longer, man. I'm gonna get in trouble. Punishment.
I apologize. See, my wife's best friend's in town, so I'm good.
Zach, I had a quick question.
Go for it.
The last play that you showed us
That was
indicated
funny.
that the back judge was right on the goal line. He was in good position. What's the reason for the back judge even moving back? I mean, the most important line is the goal line. Is there a reason for the back judge to move back at all? Because nothing's going to really happen behind him.
If he feels threatened, he should go. But in that case, I mean, he read the fly route, so that's why he kind of moved, and he got himself back to the line, so he was fine there.
You talking about that last play?
Yeah,
Yeah, I noticed that too.
yeah, he read fly, so that's why he kind of did drift back. But then as soon as he saw that pass comes up in the air, he then went back to the goal line to get there, so that's why it was fine. All right,
Zach, I got one quick question for you.
go for it.
On the kickoff, the back judge is on the sideline chain side. The ball is legally kicked downfield. As the back judge, should we go down the sideline 15 yards and then move into the center of the field, or should we stay on the 40-yard line and come out to the middle of the field from there?
Come out to the middle.
Okay, because the book says no more than 15 yards downfield we're supposed to go on the kickoff.
Right, because you don't want to put yourself too far down the field, because then you can't get back to cover the goal line.
So it's better to just move in from the 40-yard line after the ball has gone downfield.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And then I do have a couple more plays that were kick plays that I'll bring out to the back judges at our next meeting. So don't worry about that. All right. So to get credit for the meeting, the only thing you need to do is tell me one thing that you learned tonight. Okay. Because that could be either one goal that you're going to have for the year as a back judge, or one thing that you learned from this meeting, or one thing as an association that we want to make sure that we really teaching everybody to do. All right.
Exactly. Your internet is no good.
I know that besides the fact that my internet sucks.
So we're going to stick to the 10-second countdown.
Okay. Well, let me know in an email.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So let me know in an email about one thing that you guys have learned, and that's how you get the credit for today's meeting. And I'll forward that over to Jeff. All right, guys. Thank you all for coming. This will be recorded. That was awesome. I really appreciate everybody getting involved, and I hope you guys learned something. And if you have any feedback, please leave it for me.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Zach. Good